Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Blitz Racing Network. Thank you for being patient with us as we are getting ourselves prepared for that of a 75-lap adventure here at Darlington. The track named Too Tough to Tame. Certainly, these drivers are going to be struggling with this course that's only 1.36 miles in length, but it's an egg-shaped, meaning that both ends of the track completely different from one another. We're excited to give you the coverage here again on the Blitz Racing Network here for the Twigi iRacing Truck Series for race number 13, as tonight's race is that of the Sports Clip Help a Hero 75 here at Darlington. The drivers are done with practice. They're shortly getting done with qualifying here as the drivers are getting set. Allows us a little bit of time to get you prepared for how tonight is setting up. Originally, this race was scheduled for last week, but with some complications, the drivers were pushing this race another week out. So our whole entire schedule has been moved up by a week. So all the drivers are hoping they can cross their fingers that we won't have any more delays throughout this season. But coming into this race, it's Merrick Watchhorn, top of the leaderboard in points, being that of 19 points ahead of that of Patrick Hernandez. Third in points is going to be that of Ryan Mitchell, who is 75 points out from that of Merrick Watchhorn. That's your top three. But the bubble range that we're looking at are our drivers inside of our top 10. Those are the only drivers that are going to be making it into the playoffs. And right now, it's going to be that of John Lynch in 8th place in points. He's going to be having a little bit of a buffer over that of Ryan Hyatt, who's going to be just merely of going to be 3 points, ahead of that of Doug Carlson. Now, all three drivers are going to be making it into tonight's race, but the drivers to watch out for, that of Waylon Vining as well as Jacob Elkins. Those are the two drivers just outside of our top 10. They're needing some solid runs, and for that of Waylon Vining, only 2 points out from the driver of that of Douglas Carlson. So certainly these drivers have a lot of pressure on their plate, but as well for us, we're ready to give you all the coverage again here on the Blitz Racing Network. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is that of Matt Dyer. Also running double duty is going to be Matt Dyer, as he'll be our producer this evening. As the drivers are getting lined up and ready to go, let's take a look at where the drivers will start here tonight at Darlington. That of Elliott Drummond's actually going to be taking the pole award with Patrick Hernandez to the outside. A little bit of a changeup up front because two drivers I was expecting to be up front are going to be back in row number 2, where we find that of Ryan Hyatt as well as that of Merrick Watchhorn. Then in row number 3, going to be that of Bryant Gregg as well as Ellis Wells in the 57. Then we drop back to that of row number 4, where we find that of Jacob Elkins and John Lynch, two drivers that we talked about in the bubble zone, needing some solid runs here tonight with Ryan Mitchell and Waylon Vining. And Vining, again, 11th in points, needs a top 5 run here tonight with Ash Ridge going to be back here in row number 6, as well as going to be that seeing Tyler Ferrar going to be back here as well. Then our last row going to be that of Douglas Carlson, and as well going to be that of Kyle Hyatt. Kyle Hyatt going to be coming out with their starting run. Going to be interesting. 2 different Hyatts, 2 different ways to spell it. But for the drivers here tonight, they've got 2 very different sides of the racetrack that they're expecting to run as they're rolling, getting ready to go. Again, it is myself, Sam Dyer, Matt Dyer going to be joining me. And Matt, certainly tonight's going to be interesting. Going to be a quick race, 75 laps here at Darlington. But what are you expecting to see here this evening?
I'm expecting to see some really close racing. Just testing out the set earlier. The fastest line is going to be right up against the wall. So you're going to see people fighting for that outside line. Potentially seeing some slide jobs that could put some people in the wall. But it's going to be real exciting. And our fuel mileage is going to be looking about 35 to 39 laps. So I think that might. To be honest, I don't really think that's going to come into play. You might be looking at potential one stops if it stays green.
Yeah, one stops is going to be the main window for these drivers. Should be able to make it to that opening, but for these drivers up front, another goal, keep yourself out of the outside wall. Notoriously known for getting your Darlington stripes, where drivers smack that outside wall, scrape it, you're hoping to keep it clean as the drivers are stacked up, lined up, ready to go. And so are we. We're green here for that of Sports Clips Help a Hero 75 as Elliott Drummond as well is going to be seeing that American Watchhorn going to be up front, tagging with one another, and it's going to be seeing that 29 to the outside, keeping his high up into the outside wall and dipping it down low. The exit of the corners, a very tricky spot as well, and the driver single filing out for the majority of our front runners. First side-by-side is going to be back battling for that of 8th place, where that of Tyler Ferrara as well as that of Jacob Elkins are going to be racing with one another. But up front, Elliott Drummond looking good, leading lap number 1 here this evening. And for these drivers, they're going to have one fast repair to work with. So if they get any major damage, their night is not completely over, and as well can have 4 extra sets of tires in pit road as Ellis Wells into the outside wall, and there's our first Darlington stripe being struck, as here comes that of Ryan Hyatt to the inside for the 75 and the 57. Got to be careful, especially through 3 and 4. Not the place you want to be side by side, but holding it strong for now, and a great run by these drivers battling for third. As these drivers continue to race on, a little bit of communication over the radio. Seems like further back, the 31, Waylon Vining, going to be a driver losing a lot of ground, as well as Patrick Hernandez going to be losing ground for themselves. Big reason why for that of Patrick Hernandez actually was given an EOL at the start of the race. It's been climbing up from that of 14th up to 9th currently, but Vining, hard side damage for himself. Also over the radio was hearing that John Lynch and a couple of other drivers being upset over the radio of being pressured, but you could see the scrapes on the 31. Not happy about that damage for himself. And also going to be seeing the 37, that's Ash Ridge, going to be trying to pressure and move forward if possible here in. Oh boy, there's going to be Vining into the outside wall, and Issue's going to strike the 31, but not going to be bringing out a yellow, or will it? Drifting, sliding, still out of control, but off the racing surface, so we'll stay green for now as Vining tries to make it into pit road, but an obvious trouble spot, and now going to be completely missing pit road entry. Matt, pit road, obviously a troublesome spot for these drivers. Okay, I think you can speak on it a little bit more on how difficult it is to get in.
Yeah, absolutely. You really have to really commit super early because it comes up at you quicker than you actually think. And if you're not paying attention, you'll do exactly what Vining did, and you'll just slide right past it. You have to really woe it down and try to get as low as possible. You almost have to start it on the backstretch before you even get to into turn 3.
Driver is going to have to focus on that, especially because it also is pretty difficult for a yellow flag to come out. Now, as you see on the track, you see the lines. Those are the grooves that the drivers are working with. And those grooves, it's the top 2 to top 2.5, 3. That is the official racing line. Now, if drivers get completely sideways or come to a completely stop below those racing lines and strips, there will be no yellow flag thrown. Very difficult to see yellow flags here at Darlington unless drivers hit the inside wall and it bounces them back on the racing line. But here's the pass, potentially again, 3rd place. Here comes Ryan Hyatt down to the inside, diving it down low. Same spot that we saw last time where Wells was able to hold on for the 57, but not able to do so. Great closing run by that 75, diving it deep into turn 3, and able to finally make the clearance out of turn 4. But Ellis Wells still keeping it close for now, as we are now 68 laps to go, 8 laps down into this race as the drivers race down into the backstretch. Right now, still a front runner is going to be that of Drummond and Watchhorn, who we've seen these last couple of weeks been dueling around one another. You think back to that of the Nashville Super Speedway and a couple of other tracks throughout this season. That of Elliott Drummond and Watchhorn have had their frisky moments, trying to make sure they keep themselves out of trouble, but closing in on this battle for 3rd place, going to be that of John Lynch, who's finding a little bit of speed here, Matt. And I'm interested on your thoughts. These drivers that are being aggressive on their tires and all aggressive into the wall here in the early going.
Yeah, absolutely. It it helps you on the long run so you don't get loose off of, or if you wear out that front, that right front. But it is going to be very taxing because it is a very abrasive old surface here, so tires are going to really be helpful. But I think if people, you can do undercut and close up on people rather quickly, but I think the overcut is going to be something that you're really going to look at here for pit stops.
See how long you can stretch it out for that overcut. And other drivers might think about coming into pit road sooner. Want give the viewers a little bit of an update. Again, we saw that of Waylon Vining getting it hard in the outside wall, coming up and almost making contact with other drivers. 31 still out on track, has not come into pit road. Interesting call by that 31 team to not do so. And a driver that's on the move, got to give big kudos. Patrick Hernandez qualified second, was given an EOL, had to start at the end of the line, is up to 7th place after getting by a driver that's really starting to struggle. That's going to be the 94 of Tyler Farrar, who's got into the outside wall a couple of times, but got to say for Patrick Hernandez, got to be feeling good on the fact that he has now cut half of the field in just 12 laps here after getting that EOL.
Yeah, he's been putting in some solid lap times versus everyone else, so I fully expect him to get back up to the top 5 and potentially even battle for top 3 as well. He's been putting in some solid lap time.
And also have a little bit of a woe scare further back as Waylon Vining going to be making contact with third place runner of Ryan Hyatt, the 31, not able to get out of the way and ran right in front of the third of that of the 75, which now is going to give that of Ellis as well as John Lynch an ability to close in on this gap. As a 31, low, slow, and potentially could be on a run. And John Lynch, I thought maybe could have been his victim, but Vining struggling with hard damage that they collected earlier on, and now just trying to survive to make it to the end. And it's not looking good for the 31. That's our first driver to go a lap down.
Yeah, once you just get like a little bit of damage, it really just makes your car just like super tight and almost undrivable. But especially here with how tight the corners are, like once you get just a little bit more damage, it makes it just even more likely for you to scrape the wall and potentially get even more.
One of our closest battles on tracks, closing in, is actually for the lead. That of Elliott Drummond, Merrick Watchorn hopping up, get a little bit of a closer look on the 91's point of view as Merrick Watchorn trying a little bit of a different line for the 91. He's really trying to figure out how to get higher into the apex, while Elliott Drummond seems to be a lot more of a higher entry point as we ride on board with the 91 and get a sense of how to run here at Darlington. Two very different styles here, Matt, on how the drivers want to enter the corners and exit, it seems like.
Yeah, if you run the bottom line, it is a bit safer option. Like you can close up on them in the middle of the corner, but you're going to lose a little bit of time going down the backstretch. So what he's really trying to do as well, he's trying to find that clean air and not be in the aero wash of Elliott. So he's trying to get more of a cleaner air so he can get more bite on his front tires and be able to close up a little bit. But yeah, like you can see how Elliott is diamonding the corner, which is helping him down the straight and pulling away.
Pulling away and doing a great job at a driver that's going in the opposite direction. Going to be that of Ryan Hyatt. Was in third place before running into the lap traffic of Waylon Vining, and 75 has then got put in the wall, and you can see the heavily damaged right side of the 75. It was John Lynch that was trying to get by the 75. Kind of did a tail slap in the middle of the corner, and it launched the 75 up into the outside wall. Kind of a common thing to see when you see drivers side by side, and driver that's now cracked into the top 5 and now up to 4th, Patrick Hernandez for that of the 19. This has been a stout run, and the majority of this reasoning is he's one of the few drivers that has not gotten into the outside wall.
Absolutely. It's all about keeping your car clean. You really just want, because that's really just the way because as long as people are hitting the wall, they're going to get damaged and they are going to slow down. So if you can keep your truck clean for the whole race, you're definitely going to keep some really good speed in the car.
Big points can be grabbed here this evening. Talked about the fact that Douglas Carlson going to be the driver that is on the bubble, 10th in points. Vining was 11th in points, but the driver that is 12th going to be 32 points out from that, positioning to move into our top 10. That's going to be Jacob Elkins, who's going to be finding himself in 7th. While you see here in the 86, running in 11th. Small gains that you're trying to grab for yourself. And also want to give an update that of going to be the 75 of Ryan Hyatt. Going to get past, moving up position is Carlson as 75 into pit road, and yellow flag's going to strike. Issues for drivers up front. It's going to be John Lynch in the 90 machine that's going to be spun around. It's looking like heavily damaged, going to be blown up engine as we take a replay here and get ourselves set up. Drivers starting to feel that pressure. 20 laps into this race, our first yellow will strike here as take a look at what happened to the 90 machine of John Lynch just riding through the corner, feeling comfortable and confident through turns 1 and 2, but then it just bites, comes up, drifts up, just not enough space. Hard contact for the 90, but talked about if you could get launched off that inside wall, did, and that's what brought out this yellow.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate for John Lynch. He's shown a lot of potential all season long, and it's just unfortunate.
Difficult place to be as drivers now making the decision come into pit road. So we're going to be seeing a couple of drivers deciding to come in, a couple deciding not. Jacob Elkins as well as Tyler Farrar and Ryan Mitchell all deciding to come into pit road. And I think for Ryan Mitchell, for that of Tyler Farrar, might have missed pit road entry for the 94. And so he'll have to stay out and potentially go even further back into the field before he comes into pit road. But already going to be seeing at least 2 drivers use their fast repairs. That of Waylon Vining as well as going to be that of Ryan Hyatt in the 75. And I think this is really a big kudos for Ryan Hyatt, for that 75. Needed that caution. He would have been multiple laps down if that yellow did not come out.
Yeah, it's a very interesting call for the 3 people that stayed out. I'm not sure if they were wanting to lead a lap or if they were questioning their strategy out there.
I think it might have been leading the lap, but I'm hearing over the radio interesting calls to be heard. Few drivers out here. This is actually their first time ever running on this track, which I'm not surprised. This is a series that is trying to give drivers the abilities to learn and get better, and it's kind of one of the lower class leagues out there on iRacing, and kind of giving these drivers the ability to learn at different tracks. But obviously, I would imagine here, Darlington, the first time you've run here for a league race, it's a difficult course to run just in general by yourself, let alone having other drivers around you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very close quarters. As you can see, everyone's trying to fight for that one line, and it's causes people trying to both go into the corner for the same thing. And as we've seen it multiple times this races, people just getting into each other. It's kind of like people just trying to do a slide job, but from when I tested out this setup and these trucks earlier, there's a whole lot of on throttle time. So there's not a whole lot of opportunity to really throw it in there and try to do a slide job like you would with the Xfinity or the Cup cars. So with these trucks, it makes it very hard to overtake, and you have to kind of be patient and wait for that person in front of you to make a mistake.
Also, with the interesting timing of this yellow, drivers will not be able to make it from this point to the end of the race with this pit stop, meaning these drivers still need to make one more stop here this evening. And as well for these drivers, majority of them use 4 tires and fuel, meaning they've got only 3 sets of tires left into pit road. So if we get a couple of more yellows that could be untimely, this could change up a lot of different factors for these drivers as getting ready to roll. This is going to be seeing how the drivers up front, Elliott Drummond, Merrick Watchorn, Ellis Wells, Patrick Hernandez, as well as that of Brendan Gregg, going to be your top 5 getting ready to get rolling. And I think for Patrick Hernandez, excited to see how the 19 is going to roll. Again, started this race, officially qualified second, but had an EOL that forced the 19 to the end of the line. Now we'll see how can the 19's pace be with some of these front runners in the early going. First caution is out, but it's time to get this restart rolling for that of the Sports Clips Help a Hero 75. Pace truck is off, and the Twigi iRacing Truck Series race number 3 is about to get back underway. Again, that of Elliott Drummond been dominating up front, but can he continue it? As green flag is back in the air, Drummond is gone, but it's going to be Merrick Watchorn not getting the launch that he wanted. That of Ellis Wells going to be inside of that of the 91, and Wells now going to be trying to make the pass here. It's going to be that of Watchorn in the better positioning coming out of the corner as here they go. Watch out, Wells almost pinching up into Watchorn, but Watchorn making the pass cleanly as drivers further back and a little bit rowdy over the radio, but it's going to be Elliott Drummond pulling away. And Matt, This is looking good for that of the 29 so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it looked like Merrick maybe spun his tires, like trying to anticipate, or like he saw Elliott go and he tried to smash the throttle. It looks like he got sideways there, but luckily he was still able to keep second place.
Able to save it and able to get rolling. 51 laps to go, coming to 50 to go. Again, tonight's race, only 75 laps in total. We are about to finish lap 25. We've had one caution so far here tonight after having issues with that of the 90 of John Lynch getting into the outside wall and bringing out the yellow, but back behind you saw that of the 9, and it's that of Jacob Elkins getting into the outside wall as he's being pressured by that of Tyler Farrar. Tyler Farrar going to be one of the drivers that decided to spend some extra time in the pit road for damage repairs, did not use the fast repair. And the 94 just trying to hold on for now as the 90 for 5th place. That's where we find John Lynch. Lynch is going to be a driver interesting to watch. He was being quick in the early goings of our last stint before he started to get heavy damage. One of our furthest up contenders of the 3 that used their fast repair, other driver being that of Ryan Hyatt, as well as Waylon Vining, who have used their fast repair. Rest of the field has not, but here we go. Battle for the lead is on, and Merrick Watchorn, that first stint, it was 20 laps before the yellow came out. I would say, Matt, that's some good data to take in on if you feel like you need to be more aggressive or be more patient.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of these guys, if they're in that position of hoping that it stays green, you might just want to just cut this stint in half and just go from there. There might be a few other people that might want to extend it a little bit past halfway of this stint to give you a little bit fresher tires there at the end to potentially gain a few more spots. But it's going to be interesting to see what these guys do. There's no fuel saving to try to make it to the end, so I think it's going to be all out from here.
Yeah, when the drivers came into pit road, it looked like they were going to be around that of 15 to about 13 laps down on fuel, so they were going to need to save that much. Is not really possible to even do that without losing too much time and ground. So these drivers going to be forced to have to come into pit road. The question is when, and based on Matt's calculations, that would be around lap 50, but we take that away because caution's going to strike. It's Farrar as well as Elkins, the 9 and the 94, stopped on the backstretch. Hard contact for both those drivers. We saw at one moment that Elkins and Farrar were getting close to one another, and it looks like both drivers looking for the same real estate potentially could have brought out this yellow. We're seeing 2 drivers inside as we get our replay set up and ready to get rolling. Thank you again for joining us on the Blitz Racing Network. My name is Sam Dyer, Matt Dyer running productions and commentating. As see the drivers coming into this corner, Matt. I mean, it's one of the most basic things of 2 drivers looking for the same real estate, but just making contact on the exit of the corner.
Yeah, it looked like Jacob just slid up just a little bit and just lost his speed in the middle of the corner, and that allowed Tyler to get to his inside, and then Tyler just kind of just washed up on the exit and just squeezed each other into the wall.
Nothing really both drivers could do, but luckily for the both of them, they both still have their fast repair. So races are not over for either one of these drivers, but certainly they're going to have to clean this racing up as take another look at how this race went on. Riding on board with the 94, this is Tyler Farrar. You see that of Jacob Elkins get tight on the center of the corner, lose that time, and then just contact, pinching. And that's just the natural groove of this track on the exit of Darlington. A little bit of a hump coming from the banking corners to the straightaway. A little bit of a groove really forces you up in the outside wall. So both drivers nowhere to go, but this does put in question. This could force drivers coming to pit road, and they are thinking about it at least. Some further back, they're going to have to come to pit road, but this could put these drivers in a questionable spot of now being about that of 10 laps shy to potentially 5 laps shy for making it to the end of this point.
Yeah, I think if you are in the back, in the back half of the pit field, which I just seen, a lot of them did come in. I think if you're in the back, you come in, you put on some tires, you fill that thing all the way up because they ran about 10 laps. So if your calculations of being about 13 laps short, so we just ran 10 laps, you're going to be under caution for a few more laps. Just going to extend it a little bit more. You could potentially save enough and still be good enough when if it stays green from here on out to potentially make it all the way if you could save, like a few more laps.
If you've already come into pit road, you do have the ability coming to the one to go flag. You can come into pit road and top off. Those drivers that are inside of that window going to be our top 7. That's Ryan Hyatt, that of Douglas Carlson, as well as going to be that of Ryan Mitchell, Ash Ridge, Jacob Elkins, that of Tyler Farrar, as well as Kelly Hyatt and Waylon Vining all have the ability to come into pit road and come top off with the one to go marker as drivers up front, they're stacking up. They're getting ready to get rolling as the lights getting ready to click off when they come across the line. So this is going to be your opportunity to come top off. And that means these drivers going to be inside of that of a potentially 3-lap window of trying to save fuel to make it to the end. And there's plenty of time, I would say, that you could save fuel here at Darlington, Matt, on especially on the different styles that you can save fuel under caution as well as on track.
Yeah, absolutely. On track, during caution, you can turn the car off and just let it coast, and you will not burn any fuel like once you do that. So you can save a lot during that. And then when you are in, under green flag conditions, in the corners, you could push down the clutch and you can just let it roll and to save a huge amount of fuel. It, but the one thing I'm really going to be looking for because total pit lane loss, you're looking at about 50 to 55 seconds of a total loss for coming into pit. So if you can top off right now and you could stay within, that 10 to 15-second buffer when everyone like comes into pit road, under green, and you come out and you could potentially trap people lap down. And if you could stay out long enough and a caution comes out, that'll put you in even better, condition and an even better spot, potentially if it stays green from here on out.
Track position, it could be the key for us moving forward as drivers certainly going to be open for themselves as that of Waylon Vining having some issues getting his lap back. Going to be still 2 laps down for the 31, who has been causing a lot of issues here this evening as that of Elliott Drummond gets the green, takes off in the restart zone, and already going to be clear of that of Merrick Watchhorn. Also going to be seen if Ellis Wells wants to be aggressive, but going to be side by side for 3rd place as Patrick Hernandez dips back. Everyone gets single filed out, but Merrick Watchhorn looking good on the exit of turn 2. Here comes the run from the 91 down into turn number 3, and Elliott Drummond trying to hold off, but to the outside, arching, hoping for the run out of turn number 4, and there it is for the 29, leading this lap. 41 laps to go here at Darlington, and the drivers that topped off on fuel, we'll see if they can potentially stretch out that fuel, but it looks like for the majority of the drivers, they're hoping just by pacing under yellow, they've saved enough as Drummond and Watchhorn get aggressive, and this is going to give Wells as well as Patrick Hernandez an opportunity as here comes the 91 again, pressuring on the entry of turns 3 and 4. This has not been where he's been able to make the pass at all here tonight. And Matt, I'm curious on your thoughts for Merrick Watchhorn. Maybe think about potentially trying to pressure into turn 1.
Yeah, like you could pressure Elliott because he is the car like out front. Like he is potentially going to use a bit more fuel. Or, as we got a contact behind them, L's into the wall and Patrick Hernandez had to take evasive action. But, you're going back to those front two, is if you're Merrick, you almost kind of wanted to sit behind Elliott, use his draft to potentially save a little bit of fuel. But, yeah, you kind of want to pressure him a little bit, but you don't want to burn up your stuff. You're trying to pressure him to make him work his stuff even more.
Want to be aggressive up front. These have been the heavy contenders and the hottest drivers on track for the last couple of weeks, and they're hoping to get a little bit more confident. And speaking of confidence, back in 3rd place, we'll keep our cameras on our leaders, but 3rd place runner going to be Patrick Hernandez, who got an EOL at the start of the race. He has now climbed up to 3rd. Right now, going to see the 19 in your picture. Going to be about that of 3/4 of a second back from our leaders. But he's at least close enough. If our leaders get into any contact or any issues, he can strike and try to pounce to take any type of positioning away as we're 38 laps into this run. And want to give a little bit of an update. A new driver has had to enter pit road after major issues. That's going to be the 26 of that of Kelly Hyatt, who has been struggling here this evening. Got to be in pit road and has been in pit road for quite a while as they're going to be having required damage for themselves. As up front, going to be still close, hot, and heavy battling, but close and battling right now is going to be that of the 75, as well as John Lynch in the 90, and also that of Elkins in the 9. And the 75 able to move up to 5th, who had his issues, ran into that of Waylon Vining, a lap traffic driver, back on that of lap 18, been trying to come back, been doing a great job, and luckily there for the 90 of John Lynch and Elkins, they'll stay out of trouble as well. But up front, our leaders still running pretty similar pace, and the speed, I should say, like a little bit of grip that these drivers once had, it's drifting away. And really, these drivers' times, Matt, have completely dropped off a cliff already just a couple laps into this run.
Yeah, it almost makes you kind of wonder if some of them are trying to maybe potentially fuel save that little bit more. But it there's definitely no fuel saving here at the front. They are still going all out.
And they've got to be careful. They're starting to come up onto lap traffic and going to be dropping low, get out of the way. That's Ash Ridge, and that's a very classy move from lap traffic. Recognizing, don't want to be in the way. Recognizing being over that 3 seconds slower than the rest of the field. Don't want to be causing any issues, and that allows our leaders to keep this battle close and hot and heavy. Drummond, Watchhorn, who will get it done? I mean, we've talked to that of Elliott Drummond these last couple of weeks, still searching for that first win. And honestly, the frustration starting to mount a little bit too high for their liking, but a driver on our ticker that just dropped down dramatically. That's Ellis Wells from 4th place down to 6th into the outside wall and losing positions to the 9 and the 75.
Yeah, all of this battling between Elliott and Merrick is allowing Hernandez to stay relatively close. Because of the battling, it's allowed the top three to all of their lap times have been within a tenth of a second. So very consistent, very competitive here at the front. But because Elliott and Merrick were battling a lot that last lap, it allowed Hernandez to close up a tenth of last lap.
Yeah, and with Hernandez closing in, it's also kind of enabling if our top three start to get racy. Jacob Elkins has been starting to find a little bit of pace in the 9 machine after getting away from some other traffic around them. But Patrick Hernandez again qualified second officially during qualifying, and now finds himself back up to 3rd after receiving an end of the line penalty to start this race off. It's been a constant battle all race long to get up into this positioning, and now our top three all within a second of one another as 32 laps to go in this race. And still the question looms for our front runners. Will they be good on fuel? Jacob Elkins, one of the drivers that came into pit road under their last caution, feeling like just by topping off on fuel, the 9 is good, while our top three are hoping that under pacing, they've saved enough fuel.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone that came into the pit stops right now, they're working on lap 13. So, like, they could, I mean, it's still going to be kind of short, but their pit stop could potentially be a little bit shorter, which might help them as well. Because right now, Elliott, Merrick, Patrick Hernandez, they're all running on lap 24. So they might have to pit here in the next 8 to 9 laps. So it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, looking for that to 8 to 9, potentially 10 laps or even more. Again, you got to calculate those pacing laps on how much they were trying to save during that time as our leaders continue to stay in line. Patrick Hernandez starting to close in a little bit more on Merrick Watchhorn, and Watchhorn starting to fade back. But some drivers that are trying their best in the middle of the field to race close with one another. The battle between the 57 of Ellis Wells and the 2 of that of Brandon Gregg going to be on top of one another as Wells into the outside wall, and that's been the struggling point for the 57 for the second time here this evening. Has gotten to the outside wall and has dropped dramatically on pace, giving John Lynch an opportunity now up to 6th position for the 90. And for that of Ellis Wells, looked great last 2 weeks ago, when we saw these drivers running at Pocono. Not the same run that we're seeing here tonight at Darlington.
Yeah, absolutely. And that one thing I want to look at too is you do not want to be the first one to pit road, but also you do not want to be the last one. You want to be kind of in the middle. So it's going to be interesting to see who is going to pull the trigger first to come into pit road.
I like to call the Goldilocks pick? Who's going to find that equal footing where they feel the most comfortable? A lot of different battling going on track. Here is the 75, Orion Hyatt, that was at one moment inside of our top 5, is now dropped all the way to 9th place and was being pressured by that of the 94 of Tyler Farrar, and now a opportunity to challenge Douglas Carlson, who's been pretty quiet here this evening for the 86, which usually when you're hearing nothing about a driver at Darlington, that's usually a good sign, meaning you're staying out of trouble.
Absolutely. Ryan Hyatt looks pretty clean. Like really no scripts. I'm like, oh, as he closed up rather quickly,
Oh.
and as I say that, gets in his right front into the left rear of the 86. But like as long as you can keep it clean, it really just is. It's just about making it to the end.
Yeah, if you can keep it clean, that's the goal. If it's possible to do so, as we go back up for the battling for second, because our leader is gone, over a second away from Merrick Watchorn, and Watchorn and also Patrick Hernandez got to be careful not to get into that outside wall. We ride on board with the 91 and get a sense of how close and risky driving we're seeing from the 91. But at the same time, you've got to be aggressive to maximize this speed. Also want to give another note of other drivers further on back. That of Kelly Hyatt will not be able to finish out tonight's race. The 26 has called it a night as we're 25 laps into this run. We ride on board with that American Watchorn. Look back to where Patrick Hernandez is, and you see the gap, Matt. I mean, it's still keeping it close, but Patrick Hernandez might be in a position where Merrick's running practically the middle of the 2 lanes that are possible here at Darlington. I mean, what can you do for the 19?
Yeah, you really just gotta just block as much as you can. It's not really necessarily blocking, but if you can just run the middle line here, there's nowhere where they can go. So it's about really just being defensive driving and not trying to overstep your bounds here.
Discipline, be aggressive, and hold on. Now the drivers that are right now, that of Elliott Drummond, Merrick Watchorn, and Patrick Hernandez, are top 3, as well as a handful of other drivers mixed into the rest of the field. All are now entering the 32nd lap of this stint. Now the drivers, we were given the number of around 35 to 39 laps was the fuel window, meaning that these drivers will enter that window here in just a few moments, and just a few laps, I should say. But these drivers certainly got to be careful of when they come into pit road. Make sure they don't miss pit road is number 1. As you see, the 24 gets out of the way, lets our drivers race on. But Patrick Hernandez trying so close to get as close and potentially give a bump to Merrick Watchorn, who's been the most dominating driver here this evening. But with the drivers, I'm curious on how much fuel they were able to save during pacing, because that certainly is a way to save. But also, while looking back to Jacob Elkins in 4th place, he's 5 seconds back from our leaders, but he came to pit road under our last yellow. He's still very comfortable, and here they come together. It's Watchorn, Hernandez, and the aggressiveness to come into pit road together.
Oh, Merrick.
Oh, they stayed off the wall.
That was close. I thought they were both going to potentially get into each other, because it looked like Merrick maybe got on his brakes a little bit too much, slid the rear end, and almost put it in but almost overcorrected to where he almost got back into Hernandez and would have put him into the water containers.
In the water containers, or even could have put him in the outside wall that could have blocked pit entry. There were a lot of other drivers that came in behind those two. Yeah, the 24 of that of Ryan Mitchell, as well as the 75 of Ryan Hyatt, and the 9 of Elkins. In a lap later is going to be Elliott Drummond coming into pit road, as well as that of Brandon Gray. Drivers all deciding it's go time to hit pit road, and even the drivers that decided to stay out deciding not to come to pit road. Tyler Farrar, though, going to stay out for an extra lap compared to that of Elliott Drummond. See how far the 94 wants to stay out, and also what the gap is going to look like between that of the 94 and our second place runner of Elliott Drummond so far.
Yeah, if you're Tyler, you were kind of towards the back of the field, and you might as well just try it. Like what's the but as I say that, he's coming to pit road now too.
Yeah, the 94, just too much right side damage for that driver, and just felt like for Tyler Farrar to come into pit road, get the service done. And this is going to be putting now that of Waylon Vining needing to come into pit road. He'll be the last driver to hit their box, and looking at all the drivers that came in, one very not happy with their stop, going to be that of Ellis Wells, who decided to come in, use optional that of damage to get repairs done. Everyone else, clean entry, clean exit, and now this is officially the battle for the lead. It's Elliott Drummond, Merrick Watchorn. There's no more talks about if you can make it on fuel. Everyone can do it, and it's coming up to now that of 18 laps to go when they come across the line between Elliott Drummond and Watchorn. And I would say, Matt, this is the perfect window to see these drivers just duel it out and say there's nothing left to save.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you can just see because Elliott was a second, almost a second and a half, like far away from Merrick, but you see that you're pitting the one lap sooner. His fresh tires just close him straight up to him.
Merrick Watchorn is also with pitting in a lap sooner. We'll see how much abrasiveness hits the tires as this run goes on. It's going to be a very short stint. It's going to be about that of 2/3 of what a normal range limit would be. But Merrick Watchorn trying something a little bit different, poking the nose to the outside. That's something that he hasn't really done for the majority of this race. It's been a lot of trying to get underneath the 29. Might have to try something a little bit more different if possible. And as well, can Merrick Watchorn set up a pass into turns 1 and 2? Lap traffic going to be ahead of them. That's going to be Ash Ridge, who's been going down below and out of the way. But a driver that I'm not expecting to get out of the way, he'll be on the racing line. That's going to be Waylon Vining. Drivers got to be careful here on the backstretch. Where will that Vining go? Ducks it down low. Good to see from the 31. Young driver learning to get out of the way this go around. Much better than the last time these drivers had to deal with him back on that of lap 17. Gap still close, inching in. Merrick Watchorn, the 91, you see the gap. It closes in, and it just yo-yos back and forth. You can see the better entry by the 91, but the better exit goes to that of Elliott Drummond. But also the question, Matt, also is going to be out there with us coming to 15 laps to go for Patrick Hernandez or other drivers that are trying to maximize their speed as Watchorn grazes the outside wall. A little bit of loose sensation for the 29. Going to be both equalizing their loss on time. But I'm curious on the fact for these drivers, how well will they be able to keep themselves out of the wall for the rest of the field? Because with how aggressive we've seen some of these drivers, with that coming up to 14 laps to go now, a caution is always looming here at Darlington.
Yeah, I think, but there's a big enough gap with that green flag lap where there's no one really close. The only really other people that are close to each other is Brennan and Ryan Hyatt, but besides these front two. So I think it's going to be one of those things where, like, if with it being good to the end, I think people are still going to push as hard as they can. So there is still a potential for you to overdrive the corner and hit the wall, especially with these two in the front.
These two up front are really going to be aggressive. They're now coming up to that of Douglas Carlson, who ducks it down low, slamming the brakes, get out of the way. Going to be the 86 as our front two continue to race on. And it's going to be seen that of Elliott Drummond. Felt like he could have won back at Nashville Super Speedway. Went with an off the wall strategy. Decided to stay out extended time over Merrick Watchorn to have the freshest tires on the last stint. Coming to the end of the race, lap traffic got in the way of the 29's opportunities to pass Merrick Watchorn. But here tonight, did not even want to test, I should say, any opportunity. It was just staying out there for as long as the 29 could go. Decided one lap after Merrick Watchorn, wanted to make sure he stayed ahead of the 91. And now Elliott Drummond coming up to now that of 12 laps to go here tonight. Now 11. It's going to be Elliott Drummond figuring out how to hold off the 91 and Merrick Watchorn. Watchorn, who's won 7 times this season, trying to figure out how to get win number 8, while Elliott Drummond trying to go for his first win of the season.
Yeah, Elliott's been just so close so many times, and I mean, like, he's been in this position so many times. America's been able to just squeak him out. So it's going to be very interesting to see if Elliott can finally pull it off.
Seeing these drivers for that of Elliott Drummond, he's finished second 3 times this season. First time was back at Charlotte And then it was at Nashville Super Speedway, and even 2 weeks ago at Pocono. It has been a task and a tall order for this 29 to finally get it done. 10 laps to go, coming to that of 9 now, as Elliott Drummond starting to gap out a little bit more this go around compared to that of going to be of Watchorn. But everyone else, they're so gapped away from each other. There's really no other battle on track. It's just these two.
And if you were Elliott right now, that's exactly what you want to see. You want to see it spread out. You want it to stay green from here on out because there's no other variable to change how it is. Because if it becomes another caution, there's the variable of pit road. Because if you don't take tires if there's a caution, you are kind of just stuck. So if there's a caution, more than likely everyone's going to come down for tires, and that is another variable for you to potentially slide through your box or have some other issue. So he is loving how it's staying green right now, and this is exactly what he wants.
Now going to be coming up to even more lap traffic is going to be seeing that of Elliott Drummond. That next driver is going to be Tyler Farrard, who's running in 8th place. And really for our leaders, they're going to have about 2 or 3 more drivers that they have to get by the end of this race. It's going to be Farrard. Currently right now, as you see Vining hitting the outside wall in front of him, the 31's going to come up, split the middle, slam on the brakes. Scary situation for the 31, and that could be holding off even that of Merrick Watchorn, who's now going to have another driver in between them. And whew, scary situation as Farrard gets loose again. Our front two just can't get away from the action at this moment, as it's now coming up to 6 laps to go here tonight.
Yeah, I think that's what you call a Code Brown moment for Elliott, seeing that in front of him. But now that it's all set, oof! But it's getting even more exciting here at the end.
Another Farrard, that of the 94, you saw almost getting the outside wall, really had to duck it down low, but now pressuring the tail end of Merrick Watchorn. And Watchorn, who was once just a few moments, being just about a half a second off of our leader of Elliott Drummond, now a full second off. And now Elliott Drummond's got to be careful because he's slowly catching up to that of John Lynch and also that of Ellis Wells. For that of John Lynch, he's going to be dropping it down low, get out of the way immediately, trying to just let our front two race it out. But I'm curious on Ellis Wells on that of the 57, how aggressive they're going to be getting out of the way, because for the 57, with it being 4 laps to go, still a decent gap between themselves and Elliott Drummond.
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised. It looked like, maybe, Patrick Hernandez had some issues, but he's just kind of just has fallen off. I fully expect him to really stay up and keep up with, with Merrick, based on what he was doing in the last run. But it seems like he has just fallen off here.
I think also it could be the factor of just, yellow flag strikes. This race is not done. Ryan Mitchell going to be stuck on the inside wall on the exit of turn 2. Oh, no. And it is going to be a massive wreck for the 24. As we take a look, this is one of the joys of iRacing. The physics for the engines here. We like to say that iRacing, it is the most realistic racing, but sometimes physics engine gives us these gems that we get to see. As the 24 gonna have a self spin, but Matt kind of wanted to test out how SpaceX works. Is gonna be the 24 here.
Yeah, it seems like he was just trying this a little bit too hard. It seems like he was maybe trying to push the exit a little bit too hard and maybe caught the apron on the bottom and just snapped him loose there.
Now, obviously, the stage manager was not happy with the way that he hit the wall, and it yanked him back, but the curtain could not be closed quick enough on the 24. Yellow flag is thrown, and that means drivers had to make the hard decision. Do you come into pit road or do you not? Because we are now officially into overtime, ladies and gentlemen, as we take another look at this incident that brought out our last caution, most recent caution that has put us into overtime. Now for these drivers here tonight, they're going to have 3 attempts if needed. We can get this race done on just our first attempt if we're quick on it and the drivers keep themselves out of trouble. But Matt, our front two did not hit pit road. That being Elliott Drummond and Jacob Elkins. Merrick Watchorn did, and he'll be starting in 3rd place.
Yeah, this race just got a little bit more spicy. Um, but it's going to be interesting to see the fall off because um, I want to say there was about a half a second to 6/10 of fall off there, like towards the end of this run. So if you are Merrick and with him getting tires, Patrick Hernandez took tires. Just like I said, during that green flag stint, if a caution came out late in this run, you almost had to come down and take tires because Elliott 19 laps on his tires is going to be a huge difference. And if you're Merrick, and if you are Patrick Hernandez as well, you are licking your chops right now.
You are set up, you're happy, you're ready to get going. Also, want to give a report. Waylon Vining, the 31 truck, has been removed from the server. Just too unsafe of driving. The servers and racers did not feel comfortable with the way that Waylon's been racing on track tonight. So he has been removed from the session. Does not want to add him as a factor to bring out another yellow potentially or ruining another driver's night. As the drivers make the switch, getting prepared, that Elliott Drummond's decided to go to the outside lane, which puts Jacob Elkins in that lower spot. Matt, you like that call, or do you think that's a little risky?
I think it's the call that you have to do in order to keep Merrick as far away from you. Because if you're starting in front of him, he's going to be right on your bumper going into turn 1, and that's what he did not want. Yeah, it puts Patrick Hernandez right behind him, but it kind of creates a little bit of a buffer in some ways. But if you're Elliott, you're kind of hoping that you get a really good launch here for the green flag and get a big enough gap to where you can protect and defend, because it's going to be a real struggle to stay up there in front.
Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us here on the Blitz Racing Network. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is doing double duty, going to be Matt Dyer, who's running productions and commentating. We are officially into overtime. This is going to be our first attempt at overtime. When we go green, our driver's going to have 2 laps. If we get a yellow in that first lap, we will then go into our second attempt. If the similar thing happens that second attempt, we'll then go into our third, and then we'll explain more if we get to the third attempt. But if we're hoping to get the white flag, we do. It's official. Gloves are off. Anything goes. It's about crossing the line and winning. And here tonight, you got old tires in the first row, new tires waiting behind, and we're ready to go racing once again, overtime racing for the Sports Clips Help a Hero 75. Here at Darlington, the Twigi iRacing Truck Series is green. Here we go down into turn number 1. Elkins going to be pulling back. Other drivers going to be slow further back as Merrick Watchorn gets pushed up. Patrick Hernandez in the preferred position, but can he get a good launch at turn 2? And can we stay green? Hernandez messes up horrendously for himself. Other drivers wrecking further back. We stay green. Here comes Merrick Watchorn. That of Drummond throwing away an opportunity for a win potentially here out of turn 4. White flag gonna be out in the air. This is official, Matt. Here we go into turn 1.
Yeah, you're going to look at Merrick at a huge run through this corner. You kind of just want to get to the inside. Just hopefully he doesn't slide up into Elliott.
Elliott comes down. Here comes the pitch.
Oh,
they bump, they shuffle.
together.
Here comes Hernandez. Gonna be trying to split the middle. He can't. He gives the bump to Merrick. Yeah, but here comes that of Elliott. He's gonna throw it, trying to just slide his way while riding it possibly, but it's gonna be Merrick Watchorn out of turn number 4, stealing it away. The 91, win number 8 of the season.
Wow, what a finish. Like you saw Elliott just trying to pull what Kyle Larson did last season against Denny Hamlin of just holding against the wall, but just lost a little bit too much speed.
Yeah, I think if he really had tried to aim for the center of the corner and kind of use the bouncing mechanic of just bouncing off that center point, he might have been able to get a better launch, but just completely trying to wall ride it, you lose too much speed. And for that of Elliott Drummond, again, an opportunity to win, given up late in a race that 29 has to wait another day, as that Merrick Watchorn wins here tonight again. And it's A different track, but same story, Matt. Merrick Watchorn finds himself in a victory lane.
Just Mr. Consistent. I guess if you want to give him a nickname, just constantly putting in your good effort after good effort after good effort.
And for Merrick Watchorn, this is his 13th running race. I mean, excuse me, his 12th official race that he started, his 12th top 5, and going to be his 11th top 10 of the season, with a number that keeps on growing, number 8, 8th win of the season. And it's just those fresh tires were better here for this run. Patrick Hernandez almost had an opportunity to try to force it 3 wide, but great blocking by Patrick Hernandez and as well for Drummond, because that 19 had the better run at turn 2, but just was not able to really maximize that extra speed for himself. Well, for this field, they get themselves rolling around. Let's take a look here at our unofficial results, as the drivers certainly were getting crazy, but it's going to be Merrick Watchorn getting the win with Patrick Hernandez in second place. Elliott Drummond going to be in third, with Brandon Gregg able to steal away a fourth place finish, with Ryan Hyatt's great recovery up to fifth. That of Jacob Elkins, who decided to do the same strategy as Elliott Drummond, falls from second back to sixth. And then you look at some of the other drivers. There's Tyler Farrard in seventh. Eighth goes to Ellis Wells, as well as that of Douglas Carlson. 10th goes to that of John Lynch, with Ash Ridge going to be in 11th. 12th going to be that of Ryan Mitchell. And the drivers that could not finish out tonight being removed from the server was Waylon, that of Vining, as well as going to be that of Kelly Hyatt, who was damaged and was not able to finish out this race. What a run it was here this evening, and what a crazy finish it was. And for us, let's talk to some of the drivers, get their thoughts, and starting things off. We've got our top 3. We got Elliott Drummond, who's probably going to be frustrated with how tonight went, but let's get our thoughts from the 29 third place finisher. Elliott, you went with the gutsy call, and you were in that precarious spot of being the leader, where any decision you made, they were going to make the opposite, but man, you tried your best. How are you feeling after that run there, trying to win here tonight?
All I gotta say is good job to Merrick, good job to Patrick. They played the strategy right. I couldn't come to pit road, and they were able to. So whatever I did, just like you said, they were gonna do. Whatever I didn't do.
I mean, Elliott, it was a strong run for yourself, a dominating run for the majority of tonight. I mean, going into the rest of the season, you've been showing your consistency, at least of being in the top 5 for most of the races that you're in. These upcoming races, is there a confidence level knowing that this win is coming at some point?
We got Watkins Glen next week, and I'm telling you what, y'all better watch out.
That certainly is a good threat to hear. Elliott, before we let you go, though, the floor is yours for any shoutouts.
Man, I just gotta say thank you to Jo for keeping my head. Those final laps, my foot was with like 15 to go, was just shaking on that gas pedal. I mean, I was nervous wreck, but man, it's it's frustrating.
I would imagine it is, Elliott. We're cheering for you each and every week. We want to see you get that win. We know it's going to come. But for tonight, congratulations on a third place finish. I know it's not the position you wanted, but congratulations on that, and good luck next week at the Glen.
All right, thanks.
As we go from disappointment, we bring in second place runner. That's going to be Patrick Hernandez in the 19. Patrick, you started on the back foot. You had an end of the line penalty at the start of this race. What a recovery for yourself. But talk about that green-white checkered at the end. What else could you have tried to do, or were you kind of trapped there at a turn 2?
Man, I was talking to the guys before the race. As a matter of fact, 2 weeks ago, when I learned about the penalty, I wasn't happy about it, but I just decided to accept it, and I told the guys, from the back I'm going to rise, and I did it, tonight. And on that green white checker, everything was lined up perfectly, but the truck just got loose out of two. I had to slow down a lot to save it, and I saw Merrick with a ton of momentum, so I stayed out of the way. So I let it go, catch him, but man, I had the win on the tip of my finger, and I messed it up.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it was a good run there, Patrick, and it was almost there for yourself. It was great, showing that the speed you really were looking like one of the contenders to win here tonight. It just didn't fall in your fingers. But we're going to another road course next week. How do you feeling about going to Watkins Glen?
Um, I'm I'm not a good road course racer, but I have something to defend myself on those type of tracks. I will have to go testing like like from tomorrow, because the last time I raced at the Glen with truck has been a long time. So I will try to do some offline testing to get back to speed, and try to bring another top three, to the board.
I mean, it was a great run here, Patrick. Congratulations on a second place finish. And before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to all the guys in Sleek Racing. Who are bringing like great trucks every week. So thanks to them, to everything they do to help me, succeed. So kudos to them, and thank you to all the amis, to everyone that makes this week possible.
That is going to be the 19 of Patrick Hernandez coming away second place here tonight. Just one position off from the win, but still a solid run from with your penalty that you had to start the race to getting second place. Kudos to you on that achievement. But Patrick, good luck going into next week.
Thank you, guys.
As we go from second place, we go to victory lane with a driver we've talked about and talked to many a times already, but let's talk to him again. We got Merrick Watchorn up in the booth in victory lane. Merrick, congratulations on a win, and this certainly came with a lot of flair there, overtime, and you almost lost to Patrick Hernandez. You had to battle your way past Elliott, but man, give us your thoughts on that overtime attempt.
I'm not gonna lie. That was hectic. That was definitely a surprise. Elliott was just so much better on the long run. I mean, my car was fine, but when I was in behind him, just the dirty air was a big factor tonight. So, hats off to Elliott. I mean, he drove one hell of a race, and he honestly deserved that win. And me taking that win from him, I mean, it's literally we just flipped places. He took my old tires from Pocono, and I put fresh tires that he had on Pocono. Except same result, I win, and it's frustrating to him. I know it is, and all the spinal drivers. But hey, it's awesome to bring this Twigi machine home and get another win, get our 8th win of the season. So it's pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, 8th win. It's been impressive to watch. But, Merrick, we're going to a road course. How you feeling confidence-wise going to Watkins Glen next week?
I'm just hoping for a top 5, top 10 finish. I'm not really keen to road courses. I mean, I'm decent. I'm just not fast. So if I can just be consistent and stay out of trouble, I think I can make a decent top 5 and hold the points lead for now. But as right now, I mean, anything can happen at Watkins Glen.
I mean, it certainly is anything is possible, like you've shown here tonight, Merrick. You never know what could happen. But before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
Yeah, I just want to thank the Watchhorn Innovations Group Incorporated. Just want to thank the Quantum Security Alliance, Capture the Occasion, CMS, and then just want to thank all my sponsors, my friends, my family, my girlfriend, and of course, my teammates from Sleek Racing. We go 1-2 again. Patrick, chasing me for his first win, including Elliott, and of course, just want to shout out to all my admins for the league. I mean, we really, we go over and over everything, making sure everything is running perfect. So hopefully we can come out on top and just really focus on that championship, because what I'm worried about most of all about this ending is when am I going to burn out? And so if I burn out, I'm going to be a little frustrated in the playoffs if I just save my stuff, and save what I can show and what I can do for the actual playoffs themselves. So that's really our focus at the moment.
Well, I know for the regular season, it has been spectacular. Again, your 8th win of the season here tonight. Congratulations on that, Merrick, and good luck going to Watkins Glen next week.
Thanks, guys.
Well, certainly the drama built up there, Matt. We had a couple of cautions throughout the night. We had the big one from that of Ryan Mitchell putting us into overtime, which gave us a spectacular finish. We almost saw 3 wide for the lead at one moment, but it's Merrick Watchhorn, those fresher tires, taking the victory. And before we end tonight, Matt, what are some of your final thoughts of this evening?
I mean, I think we had everything you kind of expected. You had some really close racing, tight racing. A lot of people, get into each other. So, with that, with how tight Darlington is, I think this was a very good race on what they put on.
It certainly was fantastic to watch. Want to give an update to everyone viewing. The drivers will be racing at Watkins Glen next week, but us here at the Blitz Racing Network will not be able to cover that race. We'll be back in 2 weeks, though, coming for the North Wilkesboro short track racing action. It's going to be a blast to watch. Again, we'll be back giving you coverage in 2 weeks, and we'll give you a couple of updates on how that race went. But for us here tonight, thank you for joining us on the Blitz Racing Network. It was a blast and a pleasure to watch these drivers. For myself, Sam Dyer, for my brother Matt Dyer, running productions and also commentating. Thank you for joining us and watching the Twigi iRacing Truck Series. This is race number 13, and it certainly was incredible to watch as Merrick Watchorn gets his 8th win of the season here at Darlington. The track too tough to tame, but Merrick had the tires to get it done at the end. Thank you for joining us again. We cannot wait to see you in 2 weeks. Again, that's North Wilkesboro. We'll see you then.